Given the media-centered society we live in today, it is easy and fast for us to be knowledgeable about current events, as well as be knowledgeable and aware of future events so that we are prepared. We have alert systems and protocols we live by in order to feel comfortable and safe if something were to happen that we were not prepared for. In 1980, when Mount St. Helens erupted, the world was not this way. You had to rely on thinking on your toes, as well as understanding that things are more of a learning experience than a tragedy. On May 18, 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted for the first time in 100 years. Located in Skamania County in Washington State, the volcano erupted from a 5.1 earthquake and created the largest landslide known in history. With debris falling down the mountain at 150 miles per hour, it totaled to about 600 feet of debris that landed basically in the lake around the mountain. 520 million tons of ash blew across the states to as far as central Montana, which affected transportation as well as created many health issues for people living there. 57 people were killed, some due to the debris from the landslide, as well as the ash getting into their lungs. Molly Brownlee recalls this event on her Memorial Day weekend home in Spokane, Washington. As she was ready to get in her car back to go to school, she looked up to find a black cloud coming in her direction. Without knowing what this was, she went back inside and tried to get some sort of information. With the media being poor, the people living in this area had no idea what to do. Some simply went about their day as planned, getting in their car and going to work. However, the ash would get into the car system and it would actually break down, which actually caused a lot of issues for people who were commuting while this was actually happening. They would get stuck in traffic and would have to stay there until someone actually came to save them. Since the media gave no alert system or any sort of protocol, this was a very big issue health-wise because people didn't really know what the ash would do to them. And they later found out that it really impacted your lungs if you had respiratory issues previously. So the aftermath of this event was pretty catastrophic. The ash traveled at actually about 60 miles per hour and got so thick that you needed a shovel to pick it up and get rid of it. But that actually took a long time because the wind would blow and it would actually just pick it back up and create more work. It says that the ash actually hovered in the atmosphere for about 3 days, but Molly actually recalls it being around for a couple of weeks. As I said before, people with respiratory issues before this event had issues that were a lot worse afterwards with the breathing, and eventually they were advised to use masks when they were outside working to get rid of the ash. Environmentally, this was very destructive. With the hot gas and debris, it actually made the land around it about 230 miles worth, basically a wasteland, killing many forests as well as like the animals living in the lake that's around the volcano, and it really just killed anything around there. Some of the farmers got actually some benefits from this. If their farm was too close to the volcano and got heavily drenched with ash, their crops would die. However, if they were in the right location and got like a thin layer of ash, their soil was enriched, so they had better crops. Science also benefited from this. Though very tragic, scientists were more able to understand volcanoes as well as the processes that it undergoes. They're able to predict a volcano happening a little bit better so that they can alert anybody living in the surrounding area. So they basically just studied the phases of Mount St. Helen and kind of applied it to different like other volcanoes, and their knowledge basically doubled. And their research projects were funded by the National Science Foundation, so that was really helpful for them as well. They made something that went into the volcano, and they could study its movements and see what's going on in there more safely. Alright, to conclude, listening to Molly's story, I understand now kind of how fortunate we are to live in a media-related society. I understand how we're fortunate to know about the things that are happening around us. And I have a greater understanding for this traumatic event, as well as how something like this could really impact the world around us. So I also have a video that kind of explains the different processes that Mount St. Helen went through. So I'll show you that.
On the morning of May 18, what actually happened? The landslide basically uncorked this pressurized body of magma and allowed it to explode or expand out towards the north very rapidly. This is what we call the lateral blast. It was a horizontally directed explosion of incredible magnitude. It caused this expanding cloud of ash, rocks, and gases to move out across the countryside to the north at speeds of several hundred miles an hour. The directed blast was really the most destructive event that occurred on the morning of May 18. It completely destroyed an area of 230 square miles in a matter of somewhere between 5 and 9 minutes. It essentially killed every living thing within an area of 230 square miles. It destroyed hundreds of acres of virgin forest, and it was an incredibly spectacular event. We put on news stations.
Okay. As they were saying, it was very destructive for the area around it, and you can just see how thick and dense that ash was coming out. But it's very interesting to know different processes that I've been studying. So, this is my audience.